Hey, hi, I'm Deb, and this is my kitchen. Making a cheesecake shouldn't have to be scary. So today, I'm walking you step by step through my all-time favorite recipe that people rave about. Plus, I'll show you 5 tricks that you can do to help keep your cheesecake from cracking. Are you ready? Because the kitchen is now open. Come on in. Let's cook up something good.
For my chocolate chip cheesecake with raspberry sauce, the ingredients I'll be using are 1 tablespoon of butter, 1½ cups of chocolate or chocolate graham cookies, 6 tablespoons of butter, 3 8-ounce packages of cream cheese at room temperature. I'm using Neufchâtel reduced fat cream cheese, 1 cup Splenda plus ½ a cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, 1 cup of sour cream at room temperature, and I'm using light sour cream, 1½ teaspoons of vanilla, 4 eggs at room temperature, lightly beaten, ½ a cup of mini semi-sweet chocolate chips, 1 teaspoon of all-purpose flour, and a 1/4 cup of mini semi-sweet chocolate chips. And for my topping, I'll be using Seedless red raspberry preserves, and I prefer Knott's. First, I get my oven and pan ready, and then I make my crust. Now be sure and watch to the end of the video for those 5 tricks I'm using to make a crack-free cheesecake. See if you can spot them during the video, and then at the end, see if you were right. While I grease the bottom of my 9-inch springform pan with butter, I'm preheating my oven to 350 degrees, and I make sure that my rack is 1 level below center. Then, using my Ninja food processor attachment, I grind my cookies finely into small crumbs and place into a mixing bowl. Next, I fully melt 6 tablespoons of butter in the microwave and add the butter to the ground cookies and mix thoroughly. The consistency should be like wet, but not runny, sand. I press the mixture evenly into the bottom of my pan and then bake for 7 minutes at 350 degrees. When my crust is done baking, I remove it, set it to the side, and lower my oven temperature. Then I mix up my filling, put my cheesecake together, and get it all back into the oven to bake. I set my baked crust aside and reduce the temperature of my oven to 325 degrees. Then I put my room temperature cream cheese into a large mixing bowl. Using my hand mixer, I beat at low speed and gradually add 1 cup of Splenda and ½ a cup of sugar, and then add in 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. I scrape down the sides of the bowl between each added ingredient. Next, I add my room temperature light sour cream and vanilla and mix until smooth and blended. I crack my room temperature eggs into a separate bowl and then beat lightly with a whisk. We don't want a lot of air in this. Then I add my eggs to my other ingredients and mix by hand with a spoon or spatula until combined, but no longer. I add 1 teaspoon of flour to my ½ cup of chocolate chips and mix together until the chips are coated. Using a spatula, I gently fold the chips into my mixture. I want to keep the chips whole. Next, I wrap my springform pan with foil with 2 layers. You'll see why in a minute. My crust is cooled to room temperature, so I pour my filling onto my crust and finally take a 1/4 cup of mini chocolate chips and sprinkle them over the top of my filling. To ensure even cooking of my cheesecake, I place my springform pan into a baking dish that has at least 1 inch clearance between the sides. I add enough boiling water to my large pan to reach about halfway up the sides of the springform pan, taking care not to splash it into my cake. Now it all goes into the oven to bake for 1 hour at 325 degrees. And do make sure to stay with me to the end of the video for those 5 tricks to help keep your cheesecake smooth and crack-free. Hey, I just want to interrupt the video real quick to let you know that there are actually 7 tips for helping to keep your cheesecake crack-free. Unfortunately, I only remembered 5, so I'm not sure how mine's going to look. I will go over all 7 tricks at the end of the video, but for now, let's see how my cake turned out. After 1 hour, my cake looks done. In fact, it may be a little overdone. When I do the jiggle test by tapping on the side of the springform pan with a heavy spoon, the center 3 inches or so of the cake should be a little jiggly, but it's not. I turn off my oven and leave the door ajar to allow the cake to cool slowly for at least an hour to reach room temperature. Once my cake has cooled in the oven, I carefully run a thin metal spatula full depth all the way around the inside edge of the pan to loosen the cake from the sides. I then allow my cake to cool for another 2 hours on my stovetop or on a wire rack. Then I place it in my refrigerator and allow it to chill for 24 hours or at least overnight before serving. You'll notice a few small cracks did appear in my cake, but at least they're not too bad.
Okay, our cheesecake has cooled its heels in the fridge overnight and now it's ready to serve. If you're a chocolate purist, just grab a slice and have at it. It's great as is. But if you want to take it to the next level, you've really got to make the raspberry sauce. Luckily, it's really easy.
I use about 2 to 3 tablespoons of Knott seedless raspberry preserves for each individual slice of cheesecake. I simply heat up the preserves in a glass container, first for 30 seconds and then at 15-second intervals until they reach a liquid or pourable state.
Cheesecakes are notorious for cracking, and sometimes it can get really bad. So here are the 7 tricks, 5 of which I used, to try to keep that from happening. Number 1, room temperature ingredients. All wet ingredients in the filling need to be at room temperature. I set my egg, sour cream, and cream cheese out for about 2 hours before I begin. Now, if you forget to do that, you can microwave the sour cream and cream cheese at 15-second intervals until they reach room temperature. And for the eggs, put them in really hot tap water for 3 to 5 minutes, and then you'll be all set. Number 2, cornstarch. Cornstarch molecules get in between the egg proteins to keep them from clumping together and causing your cheesecake to crack. Number 3, handle eggs gently. Whisk your eggs only very gently and then mix together with the other ingredients with a spoon or spatula. Using an electric mixer adds way too much air, and that can lead to cracks. Number 4, grease the sides of the pan. Before adding the filling, grease the sides of the pan with butter to keep the sides from sticking, so when the cake contracts, it doesn't crack. This is one of the steps I forgot. Number 5, use a bain-marie. A bain-marie or water bath helps keep the cake from drying out, and it protects it from drastic temperature changes, which can cause it to crack. See the link in the description for more information. Number 6, prevent overbaking. Check the cake 10 minutes before it's supposed to be done. Oven temperatures vary, and even weather and altitude can affect baking times. This is the other one I forgot. And number 7, slow cooling. Let your cheesecake cool in the oven with the door ajar for at least an hour. Then move it to the countertop on a wire rack at room temperature for 2 hours. Finally, cover it with foil and cool it overnight in the refrigerator. For more tips on crack-free cheesecake, see the link in the description. Question: what is your favorite go-to dessert when you really want to impress someone? Let me know in the comments. With time and patience, you can make a wonderful cheesecake that your friends and family will love. It'll bring them to the dinner table where family is built, because if you feed them this cheesecake, trust me, they will come. Mmm.